Welcome. Today we have a very special guest with Pastor Samuel Salazar with Counsel and Remedy. It is a young lady that has been making an impact as well in the community, but also in my personal life with my children. My children look up to her. Mainly because of a lot of the outstanding things that she has done, but also as a person. She has impacted our local church as well, where we belong and we fellowship. Today, we have a very successful young lady. We know her as Faith Brown, and she's recently got married, and now she is Faith.
Farris.
That's right. She's here with us, and that I just wanted her to say that name because even in the invitation and even in the hashtags, it was all about her last name, and that was so. I thought that was so honorable as well. And but Faith Brown, just to give you a little bit of an introduction to some of you that do not know her, is a young lady who has been a writer, a poet, a musician, a composer, and as she's traveled the world, as a matter of fact, she has her own channel as well, and it is called Traveling with Faith. Faith, welcome. Can you please tell us before we start where people can find you and follow you on social media as well as your channel?
Yeah, so it's just Traveling with Faith. You can find me there, and on Instagram, I believe it's Traveling Con Faith because the with was taken. And I know, I think that's, YouTube. Oh, and then I also have a website at travelingwithfaith.com as well. So, and also I'm actually starting a ministry called All In Christian Women that you can find on Instagram as well. And there'll be a website up pretty soon about that.
And I also saw that you also started your own business. Can you just tell us about that?
Yes. So I just started a virtual assisting business, and so I focus on copywriting, on marketing, and on video editing. And so I just offer that to nonprofits or businesses, anybody who kind of needs assistance. Yeah.
Wonderful. And now this is interesting. Traveling with Faith is not just something that she named it. Can you tell us at least some of the places that you've been to that we can see in your channel?
Yeah, sure. So I used to be a complete solo traveler before I got married. So I traveled to Korea. I used to live there. I traveled to Japan. There's, I think, some videos of Thailand, Vietnam. And right now we're kind of focusing on the U.S. since like COVID kind of ruined travel. So, but there are still places to see in the U.S. And so we kind of try to focus on that now.
Now we're going to talk about the real thing here. The real thing is that we're going through a worldwide pandemic right now. And there's something that you said. COVID ruined travel. So a lot of people are facing these limitations right now, Faith, and in regards to things that they used to love, things that they used to look forward to, things that they were dreaming about, and they feel that all this is gone. It's all ruined. Now, we want you to give hope to young people. And the reason that we brought you here is because everyone else is coping with what we already have. However, young people are about to start their life. You were not there not too long ago, but you were doing all these great things. And some people might say, well, but you did all that before the pandemic, a worldwide pandemic. Now, I am able and I am blessed by God to be able to help and minister people from Australia to the Middle East with a certain company that I've gotten a contract with. And it is interesting because what I thought was just here in the United States, literally, is probably even worse in other places. They have very serious restrictions for them to be indoors or not even come outside of their home. They sometimes even have almost like martial law. It is that strict. And if they have a certain temperature, literally, they're not just quarantined. Sometimes they're just kicked out of the city. It is that bad. And so everyone around the world is facing this right now. Things have changed dramatically. For young people, Faith, however, they feel that this whole world has just turned upside down in them and they have no faith at all. They have no hopes at all right now. And so they're thinking, because of the way the economy is going, social distancing. Now, everyone's thinking finances, everyone's thinking my dreams and everything. But let's be real, all right? Let's be real. And if you can give us some counsel and remedy to young people, the number one thing that people think about is, am I going to find that special someone? It's always been from one generation to the other. I don't care what time we're in. It's always in their mind. Whether it's good times or bad times, it's always in their mind. However, during this time, one of the things that they think about is, will I ever find someone during a pandemic? Can you give them some kind of advice, some kind of hope during this time for a young person that's looking for, what's your counsel and remedy to a young person that's thinking, will I ever be able to have that?
I mean, I just think about how I asked the same thing when we were not in a pandemic. Like, you just don't know exactly what's going to happen, and it can be scary. Like, I had those moments where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get married. Like, I actually kind of accepted the fact that I really didn't think I was going to get married. So it was very surprising when I did. I would just say, like, just continue giving it to God and praying and sharing that desire with God if you have that hope. And it, it doesn't matter if it's a pandemic or not. Like, always bringing that to God, because people don't know outside of this pandemic if they're going to find the person. Because I don't know why, I was just thinking of I believe it was in the Bible, I'm not exactly sure who it was, where they literally, God just like told the person, or not God told the person, someone told the person, like, you're going to find this wife when she's at the well, like, she's going to offer water to, I guess, your animals. And so God, like, ordained that. And so I just feel like God can ordain that during a pandemic as well. And yeah, you could still date online and virtual,
or at the well.
Yeah, that's how I found my husband. So it was virtual.
He was at the well.
So I just kind of think, like, yeah, just continue giving it to God, and you just, share that desire, because the truth is, like, we really don't ever know in a pandemic or outside of a pandemic what's going to happen. And I think the pandemic has just really showed people we really don't have control. And that's a scary thing, but it's also like, it's always the thing. It's always the truth. We just always think that we have control when we don't, What
about the issue of them going for their dreams? Let me give you a very real example. And this is someone that I know. There's even the colleges have been shutting down. And I mean, like, shutting down, like, not permanently, not for good. But there's people that they had to transition from being in class to doing virtual learning. Well, so that works for some people, because a lot of these professors and colleges are not used to that. I've heard that people are saying that the professor doesn't even know what they're doing. Like, they don't even show up. I'm not learning anything, but yet I'm working on a degree. I don't even know if it's worth it. Some people, they've tried, they've applied, and they get no answers. And somehow or the other, they feel that their dreams are going nowhere, Faith. Should they still go for their dreams, or should they give up, or should they find another way of going about their dreams? What would you advise them as a godly person when they're facing, because this is something that literally thousands of young people are going through right now?
I mean, I wouldn't say give up. I'm never going to say that. I would say that, again, like, in a pandemic and outside of a pandemic, sometimes your career and your plans are shaken up. And sometimes it just means that it's going to look different. It doesn't mean that the dream is dead. It just means that maybe it looks a little bit different. Like, I used to dream that I was going to be a big director in Hollywood, California, and right now I live in Oklahoma. So obviously that dream did not happen, and it's not like I feel like I gave up on it. It was like I realized that there's other dreams that I can have too. And you can change your dreams even in a pandemic. There's still ways to accomplish the goals that we want to. And one day things, will open up more. So you have to look forward to those days as well.
Should they maybe put a pause on it, or should they try to go about it in a different direction, or just take a little different aspect of what they're dreaming about? What would you recommend?
I mean, it's never a harm to go differently in a way, just depending on a person's situation, like if there are financial issues or I don't know, whatever it is. But trying to find a different way to make the dream happen, or try to find different, I don't know, other dreams. Sometimes I think we're so focused on like one dream that we like actually neglect what's good for us, or like what is right in front of our face. Like maybe God gives you a mission that is right in front of your face, but you're so looking at other things that you're not even paying attention to what's in front of you. So
That's a good point, Faith. How can we guard ourselves from that? Because a lot of this generation this is a generation that was instilled a lot of self-esteem and going for your goals and going for your dreams. So sometimes they feel like a big betrayal if that's what they're gonna give up. Can you give them something to give them some kind of ease about, maybe it's not a plan B, it's just that plan A looks differently? What would you tell them?
yeah, I think you said it. It just looks differently. I mean, like I said, I think I feel like I really dealt a lot with that in my 20s. Like that was one of the biggest things I struggled with, is like I feel like a failure because I'm not in Los Angeles as this big famous person. And I think a lot of people in the younger generation want to be like TikTok stars, or they want to be YouTube stars, and that doesn't happen for everybody. Like it's hard, and even if it does happen, it doesn't always look perfect. So you could get your dream and still realize like this is it, because like that's not what's gonna fulfill you in life. There are other things in life that are joyful and can bring us joy, I think.
Well, it's interesting that you said that you wanted to be with be like a director, right? We had a bump into Faith Farris's husband, and he's kind of like a director, and he's no George Lucas, but he kind of has his hair like George Lucas. But anyway, talking about your husband, loneliness is another thing that young people are dealing with. I have seen a lot of people come, for instance, even into our clinic, that are very embarrassed, and they're saying, I would never do this. I don't think I'm crazy. That's what they say. But I feel the loneliness getting so out of hand that I am having panic attacks. I'm very anxious. I don't know what to do anymore. And that is something that has always plagued young people. How did you go about dealing with your loneliness when you were a young adult that was not married? Or in a relationship too? Because there's some people who say, well, I'm in a relationship, but they still feel lonely. Or they don't have a relationship at all, and they feel because of that, loneliness is just something that they're doomed to forever.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a struggle I've also really dealt with. I would just say that like you could still feel lonely when you're married. I don't have any friends right now really in Oklahoma, so I'm lonely. Like I don't have friends, but I love my husband. Like I'm not lonely in that aspect, but like I would love, other friends too. So I just say like it never, like you can always be lonely even in a relationship. I think a way to go about doing it is like, reaching out for help. Like people who go in a clinic, that's like a great first step, is to ask for help. Maybe you need to talk to someone, and also trying to like get involved in groups. If you go to a church, sometimes you have to take that step of like getting involved in a life group, or inviting someone to dinner, even though it's super awkward. Like those are kind of things that
but those things are kind of tough right now because of the social distancing. So what would you say about someone that, because of social distancing, they're not doing much of that? What would you recommend to a young adult? Because during this age of social distancing, how would they get that accomplished?
You could get like virtual hangouts. I know it's not the same. I don't know. I feel like in my most lonely times, I just like really pray and cry out to God, which does not seem like an answer, but like that's the only thing I know how to do. So I feel like that is kind of an answer. But yeah, trying to reach out to people, stay in connection, texting friends, or Zoom calls. I don't know.
So what if we have a young person, um, and they're saying, I don't know if I'm ever going to find someone. I had a hard time dating as it is before the pandemic. Now the pandemic's hitting, and I don't even know if I'm going to find someone. So should I just settle for whoever, or am I gonna risk being a monk or a nun forever? Because some people are saying this pandemic is going to probably last until like 1.5 year or 2 more years. What would you say to a person that is single? And I'm saying these are real questions that are going through young people's minds. You are not too there not too long ago. So what would you say to someone that's feeling like that?
I mean, just feeling like that you're gonna don't settle for someone. First of all, it's like probably a bad idea. Don't settle for somebody.
What about that line that says the Lord will work in their heart eventually?
What do you mean? What's the line?
Like, let's say that line that says, "I'll settle for this person, and then God will touch their heart eventually." What do you think?
I mean, like, I feel like you're not having boundaries in your own life if you say that. Like, you're just gonna say whatever. I'm so desperate, and that's vulnerability is could probably lead you to a wrong place where you're relying on that person to like give you all the fulfillment. And what if God like doesn't make you somehow attracted to this person? You're married to that person now, and like you don't even like them. You should probably like the person you're gonna marry. That's a good first step. I would also say, yeah, don't settle. I mean, just you gotta keep going. Like you really gotta not give up hope and just keep trying to meet people and live your life to the fullest, because usually I feel like when we live, or not to the fullest, I would say do whatever you want, but like keep living your life, because if you're just like hiding away in your home and not getting out there, you're not going to meet anybody. And a lot of people, I think a lot of Christians just think God's going to literally bring someone to their front door, but like you do have to kind of get out there. And so maybe it means just like volunteering at church, or making friends, or getting involved in a group, or online dating can be great too. Just have standards on online dating.
What do you mean standards? What do you mean by that? That's
important.
important.
Just make sure that you're not letting whoever sweet talk you. Make sure they have to be, if you're a Christian, they have to be a Christian, or yeah.
How would you make sure? Because a lot of people will just check that out, like I'm a Christian, or I.
You'll probably know on the first date, I would say, or you'll know as you talk to them if they are. And if you start having questions about it, I would say really communicate that with them. And yeah.
Now, let's go to the other extreme. Some people are very paranoid about ever finding someone at all during this time, and they'll say, should I risk getting married? Because of everything that's going on. What if I get the virus and die, and then we already have children? I'm going to risk my kids growing up without me. That is something that a lot of people are also saying. What would you advise to a person that is young, a young adult, and is just giving up in the whole concept of finding someone, period, or even having children? They're saying, I don't want to bring children into this world, in the world that I'm in. Maybe I was just doomed to be by myself forever. And not that it's something that God's putting in their heart. They're doing it out of what's going on around the world. What would you say?
I think that you are still trying to make it in a way that you can control everything, because even if there wasn't a pandemic, that could still happen. And like that's still a real possibility that people can be lost, or not lost, but they can, you could die and your children could be orphaned. It happens all the time. Like life is short. But if that's still something on your heart, like you really still want to get married, I think you can still try for that, but also realize, I think the biggest thing that I have not mentioned is like marriage is not gonna be the answer to everything. Like
that doesn't satisfy the young adult, right?
Yeah, I love being married, like it's great, but like I loved my single life too, and I was prepared to be single, and I just feel like that relationship with God is so different too when you're single. And it is a really sweet thing if you really lean into God as a single person. Yeah.
Now, we have all kinds of people in every stage of life, okay? You also have the person in college, too. A lot of young people in college. And they've heard, we just had a presidential election. And one of the things in the presidential elections is the following: all student loan debt will be paid off. So then some people are saying, young people are saying, hey, if the government's gonna pay for my student loans, I'm gonna rack up all these student loans, and hey, they're gonna be paid off, right? I don't have to pay them back at all. However, right now it's a crisis because so many people are in debt with student loan debt, and sometimes they're in debt with degrees that they're not even utilizing to support themselves financially. What would you advise to a young person that's thinking, I'm gonna rack up these student loan debts, I'm gonna buy myself a car, a new car, and hey, the government's gonna basically pay me for a new car? What would you say?
Well, the Bible says the borrower is slave to the lender, so you're literally enslaving yourself. And if anybody who has been in debt knows that, like I was in debt out of college, and it literally felt like I was enslaved to my debt. So don't do that. Also, just talking about the government, relying on the government. You don't know, even if like there is some sort of thing where they're going to forgive some loans, you don't know the stipulations that will be on that. So they already have student loan forgiveness programs in the country, and they don't really work. Like people try to get their student loans forgiven, and they're not getting them forgiven. There's I think only a handful, and there's been thousands of people who have tried, and they're not able to get it forgiven with these government forgiveness programs. So why will it be any different? I don't know. With that, I really don't think so. And plus, the president can't just do everything. Congress has to agree to things, and you don't know what stipulations they're going to put on it. So yeah, don't take out debt. It sucks.
And a little parenthesis, we did not say who was for what, okay? This is not an endorsement or condemning anyone, but it was out there, and it's still out there because there's people are saying, well, hey, we're going through a crisis right now, but I'm going to get free money, so now talking about money. What has worked for you financially to get ready as a young person, and what would you advise to any young person right now? And I'm gonna say 18 to 23 years of age. What would you tell them in regards to finances? Now remember, most young people right there are so out of luck in regards to money. They don't have a lot of money. They're probably selling their own plasma to get gasoline money or something. They're doing all that weird stuff that we all do sometimes when we're in need of money, and we'll risk it. But what would you recommend to them to do financially for their future?
Read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover and sign up for Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey and listen to his podcast. That's the best thing that I've done for my finances. Don't get into debt. Debt is really awful. Don't even really use credit cards if you really cannot use them. I don't have a credit card, and I'm fine with it personally. Make sure you're saving. Make sure you're thinking about the future and saving for retirement. And again, just read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. He explains everything so much better than I can.
Now, being single, when you were single, Faith, if you don't mind me asking, if we can count on you just be a little bit more candid with whatever you're comfortable with. Did you ever face any kind of, besides loneliness, any kind of overwhelming sadness that was just probably overwhelming for you? It is something that has always been something that single people fight alone. But again, the pandemic has really heightened everything to a larger scale. Did you ever battle that, and what would you recommend to single people hearing you right now?
Yeah, I definitely dealt with sadness and loneliness. Again, really the only thing I could do is just lean into God and yell at God and cry to God.
What do you mean yell at God?
Like asking why I'm single.
That's yeah.
Yeah, and just I don't know, feeling I don't know, like maybe I felt a little bit like entitled to it, like because I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing and it's not happening. Why is it not happening? So yeah, really just lean into God because I feel like there's joy in that, and that's where I really found a lot of my joy as well. And also just like have friends, make friends, live your life. Like don't be afraid. Don't wait to be married to do something. That's what I mean by live by your life. Like I think a lot of people wait to move to a new city until they're gonna be married, or get a job, or go to school, or they just don't realize that they're waiting for marriage to do those things. So, like, if you want to travel, go travel. Like, if you want to get a job, go get that job. Like, you don't have to wait for someone.
Good. I would like for you, because Faith is a musician and she composes some songs, and I asked her to please bring her guitar today and share with us a song, and she agreed, and she's going to bless us now with one of her compositions.
Right now, I need a little faith to get me through. Feels like I hit a wall and it won't seem to move. Crying out, how could this happen to me? You said that you were good and you're the God who sees. I've got some questions I don't have answers to. I know I have a plan, but I'm wondering if you do. But even if I never understand, I know you're still there, holding my hand, 'cause you're worth it all. Worth me laying down my fears and flaws. You're worth my life, worth me laying it all on the line. Even though you're something I can't put my fingers on, God, you're worth it all. You're worth it all. If I must go alone to follow you, but nobody understands and they call me a fool, still I will turn from the world's applause. I'd gladly give it up for you, count it as loss, 'cause you're worth it all. Worth me laying down my fears and flaws. You're worth my life, worth me putting it out on the line. Even though you're something I can't put my fingers on, God, you're worth it all. You're worth it all. Yeah, you're worth it all. Worth me laying down my fears and flaws. You're worth my life, worth me putting it out on the line. Even though you're something I can't put my fingers on, God, you're worth it all. Yeah, you're worth it all. Yeah, you're worth it all. You're worth it all.
Thank you so much, Faith, for joining us today. And we thank you for joining us as well. And we pray that the counsel and remedy that we heard from Faith helps you to walk successfully as a young adult. And for whoever you are, that you walk supernaturally with the Lord Jesus Christ and walk on water. Please, please, we ask you, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, the thumbs up, and the notification bell. And I would like to leave you with this scripture from Psalm 107. And it reads as follows: Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Are you the redeemed? God paid for you. He loves you. His mercy is forever. No matter what has happened in your life, he'll be merciful towards you as a young person, and he has your future in his hands. God bless you, and continue to walk with us on water.